This show is sponsored by the Comics Shop. We hope you enjoy the show.
G'day and welcome to another episode of Tuesday Chinwag. My name is Lee Chalker. I am the creator of the Australian independent comic book called Battle for Bustle, published through Comic Studio. So Chinwag is broadcast live over 2 channels. Now on that little yellow ticker box running across the bottom, you will see their address, and that is Comics Network and Aussieverse. So please go and check out those sites and just have a look at anything comic book related. There's bound to be tons of stuff that you may want to check out. Now, the best thing you can do by supporting them is to go and like and subscribe them anywhere you can find them. I'm going to say g'day to Spedsy. Yeah, g'day, mate. I'm going to say g'day to Nick May. I'm also going to say, like, all comments are welcome. I will do my best to bring them back into the conversation with tonight's guest, who is a gentleman I'm very much looking forward to talk to. And his name is Mr. Jesse Dracman. Hello, sir. How are you this fine evening?
Good evening, Lee. I'm doing great, mate, and it's an absolute treat to talk to you, buddy.
Oh,
Hope
thank
you're
you, mate.
doing good too.
Man, I'm going all right. Yeah.
Hell
No,
yeah.
I'm going good. You know, like it's. I've been really looking forward to talk to you today. It's. I'm feeling. Oh, I'm running all right, man. You know, cylinders are going all right. You know, hello, absent-minded. You know, like. No hiccups, mate. I haven't missed a beat today, so I'm ready to rock and roll. And notice I threw in beat there because, you know, like we'll get into your music and stuff like that as well tonight. Yeah. So I'm full of dad humor, mate. So, you know.
I'm down for it, mate.
When that's rolling, you know, like it's like, ooh, anything could happen. So, Jesse, mate, I'm going to just get right into the existential question, the thing that, you know, always starts off the fluid nature of the Chinwag. Who?
Well, my name's Jesse, thanks to Mum who won that naming battle because Dad wanted to give me some American Indian name, bless his cotton socks. So yeah, went with that. But oh, wait a minute, we're talking about my life. Yeah. So yeah, I'm Jesse. I'm a Pisces. I love comic books, music across many spectrums. So a lot of people think I'm just into heavy metal, but I'm actually I love jazz. I love 70s funk. I love all kinds of cool shit, man. If it's rocking, I'm down with it, man. So yeah, love my horror movies, love, you know, movies in general. But anyway, that side of me aside, I've led a very interesting, colorful life. Actually, you know, was one of them kids that grew up wanting to be an astronaut and came pretty close, actually. Yeah, NASA got involved and all that kind of stuff. So story for another time, maybe. But
no, we're going down that path tonight, mate. I've never had someone who was on NASA's look before, so yes, we will investigate.
Yeah. So did all that, and you know, down that path, I discovered this wretched thing called rock and roll, and it just took me down a dark path of, you know, singing in bands and, you know, to this point. And, you know, obviously pandemic opened a doorway for me that gave me a chance to follow something that I had put aside for the longest time, which was writing and making comic books. And, you know, here we are today. You know, I've got 4 comic book series under my belt and a children's book, and, you know, all self-published, and 99% of it funded through weekly recycling. And I'm just having a really good time, man. And part of this journey is meeting people like yourself and just realizing just how much amazing talent we have in this country. So it's, you know, just like music, man, it's great to be in good company. So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
That's me. Yeah.
That's nicely put. I have noticed in because you and I met on a live stream a couple of years ago, and I we had like, I guess a half hour, 45-minute chat that day with Shane and Dustin, and I was taken aback by you at the time with how motivated, determined you were. Particularly, you just touched on it then, which I want to get into as well tonight, is your like environmental aptitude towards recycling, things like that, to further on your endeavors with comic books and artists and all of those sorts of things. And I've kept like, obviously, I'm not a huge social media person. I have my moments, like where you're on there and you doing the thing. I've followed you enough to see you pop up and you're out and about and all that. Man, you're like you're busy. Like, I'll give you that. There's no stopping you. You never seem down. You're always like, come on, man, we can do this. Your attitude is excellent. And I liked it. And when and just with Chinwag, having the opportunity, like myself, to meet people that I've seen and touched base with previously, and to have a long form interview, man, like it's a huge, like, really is an honor, man, to get you on here too.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
No, man, like, I honestly mean it, because it's I love all my Chinwags, but there's just something about tonight that I was buzzing today. And like I told you, like,
that's cool, man.
I was telling Jesse and Shane, for everyone out there, before the start of the show, that Jesse's part of a band that some of you, like, has been, we'll get to that. Jesse can tell his story. But I spent the day listening to the band, and much like I like about comics, where you can hear people with a voice in their creative sense and stuff like that, very much I saw and heard Jesse and what he does with comic books coming through in the music. And that today made me like, like, this dude's got his rhythm, he's got his vibe happening, So I'm looking forward to, getting into this, man. But before we get into, like, little Jesse, I want to, and whatever your, hopefully you can have an exclusive here and let us know what possibly your American Indian name was going to be, like Fire, Six Arrows and Miss, or something like that.
I don't remember it, but it was something like that. Yeah.
Like Dances with Bears. I mean, who knows? It could be anything. But mate, take me right back to NASA. Come on, you can't just throw something like that out there and just not expect to go back to NASA, man.
Well, I got to blame Mum for that. She, like any good parent, man, they notice. Your parent always notices your interests before you do, and I always found myself drawn to all things space. Like I was that kid watching Star Trek and Star Wars, and all the stuff that any good well-rounded kid should be exposed to at an early age. And it just got me into space travel and all that. And anyway, long story short, there was a opportunity to go experience the joy that is the US Space Academy, otherwise known as Space Camp, in Huntsville, Alabama. And I applied, and next thing you know, here I am, going over to the States for 2 weeks, with Mum, and experiencing, what it's like to be an astronaut. And if I didn't drink the Kool-Aid before, I really drank at that time. And so I just really got into it, and so much so that they pretty much kind of invited me back for, a follow-up. And I even did what's called the Top Gun Aviation Challenge course, where you spend 2 weeks, learning the ins and outs of being a fighter pilot. So I was, flying F-14 Tomcats, not the real ones, just simulators, unfortunately. But got to experience, all the simulators that astronauts and fighter pilots experience, like one of my favorite ones was the 5DF, the 5 Degrees of Freedom. And yeah, it's this harness that you basically strap to that basically simulates zero gravity. And, it's for a role that the astronauts have called mission specialists. They do all the repairs on satellites and that out in space. So, so I got to experience that. And I remember vividly, of all the things I could remember, I remember my trainer saying to me, whatever you do, don't adjust yourself too much, or you will basically give away any chance of having kids one day. So, because I look down and there's these 2 straps just wedged in real nice and tight. Probably not ideally where they should have been. So, it's a bit daunting for a kid, So there's me having a bit of fun there, flying around upside down and experiencing all that. And things got pretty interesting there. Like there was a lot of interest, and I ticked all the boxes to go to take those steps to go to NASA. But the thing that I just couldn't, I don't know, I just I also had a very powerful imagination as well. So I found myself, by that point in school, I discovered, I really loved writing stories and I loved horror. My English teacher, who I actually still stay in touch with today, she really encouraged my writing. She said, I've definitely got a knack for it. And I was even writing my own scripts in theater and stuff. And then I discovered, rock and roll. I discovered it before, but I really discovered it in school. And it was kind of my escapism from the pressures of what I was going through to try and get these, really high grades to appease the powers that be overseas. And it's just one of those, I wouldn't call it a sad story, but I call it it was an amazing experience, and it definitely lit my creative fuses like nothing else. I mean, some of the things I got to experience and see and do over there. I went over there 3 times, and I got to, practice survival training in the woods. Flying foxes. Learning about aerial combat maneuvers from Vietnam and all that, and the Korean War, and but also seeing these planes that I just stared at lovingly in pages of books up close and personal. Like being standing meters away from an SR-71 Blackbird, the fastest plane on the planet. Getting to see that, getting to see the space shuttle, getting to see. I actually saw parts of the space station being built in a sort of semi-top secret location. So I got to see that, on the sly, and it was really cool. And also got to meet some amazing people. Like I got to meet Paul Scully Power, the first Australian astronaut, and also got to meet the one and only Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon. And that was
how was Buzz? How was that?
That was a buzz, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, he was super cool. Like he pulled out, like he carried like this little notepad with him of all these sketches and stuff, and he sat me down and just showed me all these ideas for manned travel to Mars, and he explained his old vision to me. And it was a lot to take in for a kid, but man, I was like, yep, you know what you're doing, man. I see this happening. And I said, mate, I'll be one of your astronauts to go to Mars, man. Like bold words at the time, but
was Buzz like, sorry to interrupt you, dude, but
no,
like when
right.
he pulled out the notepad and he was drawing, like was he like fully sitting down, like just flowing with you, little fella, like these are my ideas of like colonizing the moon and Mars, and this is how we could do it, and this is what I reckon.
That's exactly what he did.
How cool is that?
He drew diagrams and shit. It was surreal, dude. Like, I didn't expect him to be so open. Actually, I had no expectations. I just thought, holy shit, you know, I'm meeting a man that's changed the course of history, you know,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was cool, and he just the way he just took the time to talk to me and share his stories with me and stuff, you know. I mean, when it came to talking about the moon, I think it was just all the textbook answers. You know, I felt like, you know, there's elements they hold back from talking about, that's been well documented. But you know, he was cool, man. He was very cool and left quite a profound effect on me. So yeah.
Oh, I imagine he would have. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So all that side of thing got me excited. But physics and maths, oh man, I never lose a night's sleep over not seeing one of those books ever again.
Yeah, I imagine that would have been very difficult, man, because
Yeah.
like it's, man, it must go to show you though, you must have had something that they liked, mate, like to get to that extent. Like, what was
Yeah.
it that you said that the writing in your English teacher had stuck with you, and you know, it'd be pretty hard at this point. I would be thinking, you know, like English teacher telling you, Jesse, you know, like you're great at writing, and then on the other hand, you know, like you've got Buzz Aldrin sitting there, you know, like drawing
Yeah.
diagrams of colonization in outer space and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
It
What
was,
was the dividing range there, man, that brought you back to Earth as opposed to shooting for the stars?
well, I just shot for the stars from a different perspective, you know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know, I just, you know, it's that thing about being at school, you know, peer pressure and stuff, and
yeah.
the pressure of being a kid, and you know, when you don't perform, and when word travels that you're this, you know, as they called me in school, the spaceman, you know, apparently the spaceman can do anything. So when the spaceman can't win the 100-meter dash, there's something wrong with you. Or if the spaceman can't get an A in the math report, there's something wrong with you, you know. So
Mhm.
it just really sort of started creating a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth of,
Mhm.
you know, the thrill was gone of
Yeah,
sorts.
yeah,
I never lost my interest in space travel by any means. I just really just detested the pressure that came with it. You know,
yeah.
I mean, I probably could have changed my attitude and applied myself a bit more and done all that stuff, sure. But when my English teacher started talking to me about the world of Stephen King and Clive
Mhm.
Barker, and
Mhm.
you know, and she discovered that I had a real, you know, my eyes lit up about this stuff. So she really pushed me and gave me a lot of encouragement on following those creative ideas. You know, some that raised red alerts apparently with the guidance counselor, because I just had a penchant. Yeah, I had a bit of a penchant for writing gore and very graphic detail. So, you know, it's the sort of thing that just got me excited about a whole new world of possibilities. So,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah,
creative
yeah.
writing was my new forte.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's fair enough. That's a good answer.
Mm.
Getting back to Stephen King, what's your favorite Stephen King stuff, man? Because I've been known to
Yeah.
go through quite a few of those books over the years myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I haven't read every single one of his books, because he's got so many of them. But
Mm.
I always go back to Salem's a lot. It's one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite books. It obviously, but yeah, I think if you ask me, Salem's Lot is definitely my hands down favorite, because I found like I had a bit of a personal connection of sorts. Because one of the first times I read it, I was living in a place called Lowood, which is out near Amberley Air Force Base.
Okay,
And
yeah,
yeah, but anyway, it's sort of a country town,
yeah.
small population, everyone knows everyone at the time. And when I was reading the book, I was reading about the house, where the vampire lived, and that I just had this weird vision in my head. And lo and behold, looking out in the hills of Lowood is this one lone hill and this one lone house just sitting on it. And I just, for the longest time, just always looked at that house and thought, I think a vampire lives there. My imagination took me places, man. So
man. Yeah. No, that's cool. Let's It's funny how things resonate with you. Hey, just little things when you're younger. Like my first encounter with Stephen King was my uncle Stephen was my goddad was a voracious reader, man. Like the man would just like see you later, in a day or two, like just unbelievable. And he loved high fantasy. He loved, anything that like let's say hello Dave Dyer, you champion. Like he liked real life stories, and he liked the far other spectrum. He wasn't into spy stories and things like that, man, like this is the dude who was like, given like 9 and 10-year-old me, like the Lord of the Rings, read that, varying other
That's
things.
cool.
One of the books that he gave me was The Gunslinger. And poor man, probably 11 or 12 at the time. And I had no idea what The Gunslinger was about. My family was a bit like, oh, that's Stephen King, mate. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm, like in my mid-40s, I was around when Carrie came out and like, the first It, and, like all those things were like pretty like, woo, the Gunslinger, old Roland, man, like just boom, blew my mind. So then over the course of the next, I suppose, 6 or 7 years, as I picked up varying volumes, like I really got into the Gunslinger and the Dark Tower series. So that's my, like, I'd always, for me, like it's that, because
that's one I've got to re-tap into, man, because I kind of grazed the surface, but I didn't fully dive into it as much as I'd like to. So I think it's just all about just being in the right place at the right time in the right headspace.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's just some things, like you can miss a classic just because you aren't in the right headspace, or you can find something that no one else likes because you just get lucky. I mean, everything happens for a reason. It's time when it's time, man. Like it's can't push or force. You just go with that flow, and things will come or things will stay away. It's just how it is, man. I was just very lucky, like you, like suggesting those sorts of things. So I'm grateful for that luck.
Yeah, same. Well, I mean, that's for me, like one piece of advice that I always give openly to anyone is just, don't feel bad or whatever if you don't jump on the boat straight away, because I certainly don't. I'm a late bloomer to a lot of things, like the world blows up about one thing and I just go in the opposite direction, like I just go, look, I'll get to it when I'm ready, and I'll enjoy it the way it's meant to be enjoyed, in my own headspace and all the rest. And I always pass that on to everybody I come across and go, man, don't feel pressured to jump on something just because Joe Blow and Jimmy Blow and all those other guys all do the same thing, man. Just be your own person and find your own path, and you'll be happier that way.
Yeah, I think that's pretty wise advice, mate, because I know for myself for so long, and these are self-realization facts for me over recent time, like because I've had a lot of changes over the last few years as well, and one of the many traps that I found myself in, and it's hard to break the chain, is being something that other people want you to be, not being yourself and going with what resonates with you because you don't want to disappoint someone or leave someone behind, or you don't want to be left behind because for whatever reason you just haven't got that courage within yourself to, I'm going this way, I'm going to carve that path, and but things happen, like for yourself, man, like different people have those realizations at different ages, and you got to go through your shit, really, like to get there and pick up experience, and so
and I think that's what happened with the astronaut thing too, man, was just that there was just a lot of pressure, a lot of teachers and students all had these high expectations of this person that I should have been, when, I was the kind of kid in school that I like to goof around and, play practical jokes and make fart bombs and, and play battleships in class and just be a kid, and the more I got told that I wasn't allowed to be that person, the more I kind of went, well, cool, well, maybe someone else can do that, and I'll go be a kid and figure out my shit my own way.
Man, I think you got that rebellious streak in you, like I do, man. I couldn't understand it. Like, 13 years old, man, you just popped over into the teens, and you got some person standing in front of 600 of you at this Catholic school, like going, and you must know what you want to do with the rest of your life. It's like, man, I don't know. I just want to read comic books and,
exactly, dude. Exactly. You just want to play video games, read comic books, and be a kid, man.
And you got kids sitting there going, "Oh yes, I want to, be a brain surgeon." Like, what the hell are you talking about, man?
Right? Yeah.
Closest thing you've ever seen to a brain surgeon is the reanimator. Get out of here,
Yeah, exactly, dude. Yeah.
Oh,
that's
man,
so
like
true,
school,
man.
hey, it's like it's not for everyone. It's for some, whatever.
Yeah,
But, much like yourself, though, you were saying, man, you were lucky to have a teacher that sparked you, and your influences. So you were obviously, I wouldn't say, would I be using too strong a word if I suggested you were a little bit bullied, perhaps, like coming from space school and not being able to quite meet their expectations and stuff?
Yeah, I would, because you're pretty right, because I mean, every time, everything was fine every time I was going to the States. Like all 3 times when I went to America to do the academy, I was center of attention, which was good and bad, but every time I came back, the level of expectation grew, so it was fun for 5 minutes, and then after that it was like, so where's your physics homework, and where's this and where's that, and you're dealing with the pressures of just being a kid, and on top of all that, it's it's a lot to take on board, and I think that's one of them things that they can't teach you in life. You just kind of have to figure it out yourself and find your own path and your own way of thinking of what you want to be and what you want to do. So that's why I'm forever grateful for the experiences I've had, and I never regret it for 1 minute. But I'm more especially grateful for the fact that someone took a punt on me and identified the potential in my creative thinking and expanded on that with me and helped create a path for me that I would just follow for a lifetime. So it's
pretty amazing when you do have that mentor or friend or parent that does encourage you to pursue something that really does light that fire, man. It's not pretense. It's like, this is me and I love it and I want to do it. It's all me. And that English teacher, you're really lucky too, man, that that you're still in contact with them, because I was very lucky. I had 2 teachers in school, so I'm sort of running parallel with you a bit here, man. Like,
cool.
My dad was very much, I have to play sport. I wasn't really into sport, but I'm physical. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind it. I don't mind taking tackles and, tackling and, that sort of thing. But my granddad on my mother's side was an artist, like from the Second World War. So I was always this middle. And I had an English teacher and an art teacher. And I really wasn't interested in any other form of schoolwork other than history. And my English teacher was a dude called Richard Wee, still one of the coolest men ever. I do see him around. And he buys my comics actually, because he remembers
That's
when I was a
awesome.
little kid saying that I wanted to, like make comics. And
Yeah.
man, he used to get up in class and he'd be reading like the Lord of the Flies, right? But he'd be like the whole right, and like giving it like this full Shakespearean thing, and you'd sit there and you'd be like, wow, I've never heard anyone read a book like that, and then you
Yeah.
get your art teacher who was just like very much like, what do you feel like doing today? I'd like to do this. Well, you're going to do it, so there you go. And everyone would be doing something different, and like it was just all
Yeah.
like math creativity, and that was really cool too, and all of the dudes that are in those classes and stuff have gone on to be like, musicians like yourself, and artists and varying other people in those, areas, just through those people's influences and stuff. So, I mean, that's a really cool thing, man.
Yeah.
So I reckon that's awesome that you found that person, because when you discovered rock and roll, because, man, we've all had those. There's that one time, man, like when you,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
what was it, mate? You'd surely you'd know, like the
Yeah.
one that, like, boom, I'm playing that album 1,000 times, like.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting, because when I discovered it was I'd been around it, growing up as a kid. Like I came from one of those family dynamics. My dad was he was that old school biker, so Deep Purple, AC/DC, that was a staple. Mum, so between him and Mum, it was a staple diet of Judas Priest and friggin' Black Sabbath and all that. So it was pretty rock solid from that aspect. But I kind of didn't sort of connect with all that straight away. But in school, the part that triggered that next path in my life was Elvis Presley, of all people.
Oh man.
As soon
what
as
period, man? Like I'm a fan as well, mate. I've had my moments.
Original Elvis, the early Sunset Blues recordings. I can't remember songs specifically off the top of my head, but dude, he would do some ripping blues covers, and just listening to his voice, there was something about his voice that was hypnotic to me, and it just sang to me literally. And next thing you know, I find myself singing along to it, and before you know it, I'm at school the next day singing Elvis, just not to anyone, I'm just singing it in walking, and and that's where it took me down another path, like couple of friends discovered, here's this guy singing Elvis. Oh, maybe he can sing in our band. Next thing you know, I'm jamming in my first band, and it was bloody hilarious. So yeah, there you go, man. Rock and roll.
Yeah, I like the fact you said Elvis there, because I can see how you would have grown up with a staple of describing that. I grew up with. Did you have a family that, like, there was constant music in the house? Like,
to a degree. Yeah. Like, mum played played music every weekend. So it was a pretty, like we had music and we had movies. So mum really encouraged me, with movies and just watching, everything, man. Fucking yeah. Sorry.
You're right, mate. You far away.
Star Wars and all the classics, but it was the movies like Superman and the Rocky series that just hit me. And but it was the soundtracks. The soundtracks are what I connected with. Bill Conti's score on the Rocky soundtracks really just resonated with me, and it helped me sort of create creative vortex in my mind, so I could listen to the soundtrack, and I could transport my imagination to anywhere I wanted, and I think that sort of built a path to part of that path that led me to today. So,
mate, I would say that that's a beautiful summary of like those those movies and what you grew up with there too. Because again, similar to me, every weekend, my mum and dad had like the Fourth Monkey, Hello Stew, Led Zeppelin, Judas Priest, and comic books. That sounds like three pretty good things there, man. You can't go wrong. Stew, rock on.
Hell yeah.
My mum and dad had an old school film reel player.
Sick.
And my mum and dad in 1972, at the age of 18 and 19, Dad got sent to join the army, and they moved to Singapore for 3 years. And over in Singapore, Dad bought this giant reel player, and he recorded thousands of songs from like the army radio. And I grew up with stacks of these reels, man, and Dad
So
had
cool.
typed them out with at exactly the point songs were, and it was like the old, you had to put them on, wind them up, tie them off, and then okay, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that's the song I want to listen to. And it was just, so every Saturday and Sunday was this. And man, like yourself, it was everything from Elvis through to Sabbath, through to Bowie, through to Creedence, through to oh man, like, you know, oh, what's his bloody name? The dude who does the Bismarck, you know what I mean? My dad was country to rock and roll. Mum was psychedelic to like I was just inundated with stuff, man. Oh yeah, man.
It's healthy.
Comics, like, and then Saturday nights were movie nights, man. And it's like
the best.
Oh, dude, and it was just like, and my brain was just ticking, man. You know, like much like yours would have been, just like constantly going. It's so I get that. I still find myself just daydreaming about things, and I don't know, man. People are like, "Oh, what are you thinking about?"
That's the spaceman in me too, man. Like I'm forever. My mind is forever in space, man. I may not be traveling to space, but my mind is always in space, dude.
Oh man, I think I infuriate some people, man, because I can just veer off into the strangest things, and like, you know, people are like, "Okay, cool," and you know, like, and they just leave me to it, you know. Lucky. That's just how it is. But yeah, no, man, all those influences from being a kid and stuff like that, like, were just, you know, you do have to be grateful for all of those.
Yeah, you do, man. You do. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'm, you know, without going too deep into it, like my life was, you know, it definitely had its downsides as well. You know, like, Mum was a single mum raising us kids, you know, and we did it tough, you know, we did it real tough for the longest time. But the thing that I have to give credit to Mum for was, no matter how rough we were doing it, she always made sure that there was food on the table, and we had Saturday movie nights, you know, like she wanted more than anything for us kids to have that childhood that we deserved, and I'm forever grateful for that. So that's
love, brother. That's love, man.
It's love.
The highest form, mate. You know, like a mother's love for their children, mate. No harder job than being a mum. I had a single mother as well for the longest period of time. My dad, as much as I speak about him, lots of people would think that he was in my life for a very extended period, but no, he was only in my life for 5 years, you know, like 6 years. And Mum did it hard too, man, like very hard. Like, I was raised by, Mum was working. I was raised by my grandmother, who was a very strict Catholic. And my aunts, like my aunt Janelle and Donna, and just a lot of, I grew up with a lot of, I would say, female empowerment, which I also think, you know, if you want to go into a spiritual, you know, like, side of things, I think that played a massive role in also fueling like a lot of creativity and
Yeah,
seeing
absolutely.
like the respect, like
Mhm.
these, I just, that's
Yeah,
a lot of qualities there, man, that are good.
it
But hey,
is.
childhood, as long as you come, I think, there's hard stuff all the time, Jesse. But
Oh,
like
yeah, absolutely.
I, I like the fact though that like we touched on before, man. Like you've kept moving, man. Like you keep creating and stuff. Like and you're talking positively now and things. You know what I mean? Because you got to take. Oh fuck, man. I suppose it's the duality of things, isn't it? For what's up,
Mm,
there's downs, and like you try and find that balance and medium and
yeah.
things. And you learn respect for people because like what I've learned from like my growing up with my mum is when I was younger I didn't understand it, but now that I'm older and I look back on like what she went through, it's like, man, damn, you know what I mean? Like worked her bum off, mate. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like
totally.
to to allow me opportunities as well.
Yeah.
Now, how many in your family? You mentioned you had a couple of kids. So, what do you got? Brothers, sisters?
Yeah, yeah, I got brothers and sisters. I mean, I've actually got quite a few brothers and sisters. So,
Mm,
because my mum, uh, you know, she remarried, and
mm,
so from the stepdad, I got two brothers and a sister. But
yeah.
from my dad, I've got, last count, I think four brothers and two sisters, something like that. Yeah. So
Big
yeah,
family.
big family. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, so it's yeah, it's interesting, man.
Yeah, that's a
It's
that's a
cool.
yeah, yeah, it would be, man. Like that's a
It's
big
cool.
dynamic too. That at all would that fuel into your
Yeah,
writing
absolutely.
now that you're a bit older and stuff like that?
Yeah,
Your
yeah, absolutely.
imagination fires on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It all plays a part, and
Mm,
I've got a pretty good relationship with everyone. So yeah, no complaints, man. Other than time to see everyone, but that's about it.
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. You're a busy dude.
Mm.
That's what Jesse was saying to me. Everyone that's out there listening, just earlier, that Jesse can't even remember the last time he had a day off. And
No.
he's chilling out here with me and everyone watching and listening tonight, mate. So telling his stories. So
Mm.
very very grateful for that, man.
No,
And
it's all good.
yeah, and it's super cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that blew me out when you said that before. I was like, whoa, like okay, yeah.
Oh,
I just
look, it's the world we live in, mate. So
yeah,
everyone's busy. I never, I always, anytime I talk to any of my friends, I know everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing it tough. Everyone's busy. Time is precious and all the rest of it. So it's a thing these days, man. But these little moments where we get to have chats with like-minded souls like we are right now, man, it's can't put a price tag on it, man. So it's cool,
yeah,
very cool.
beautiful, man. I'm gonna bring a few things together now, and I'm
Hmm.
gonna let you like broaden this small structure I'm giving you. Now,
Sure.
it will involve what was a comic book that sparked your interest in comic books, obviously, so we can get
Hmm.
to that. But I do know that one of the comic books that you do would obviously be from a love of a film that I
Yep.
also share with you, because that was one of the films that I saw as a young man, and that was The Warriors, and
Yeah,
the
man.
classic lines, "Can you dig it?" And Warriors come out to play with the beer bottles going, and at this time that you were reading your books and everything, you've discovered Elvis, and we all, I'm assuming, like once you get to Elvis, and you said you were like firing off on jazz, so I'm assuming with your jazz, I'm just going to have a punt here and suggest you
Mm.
probably got into a little bit of Miles Davis and John
Yep.
Coltrane and that sort of stuff at the
Yeah, man.
time. Like, oh, dude, man, I
Yep.
love raw into that stuff. Hey, I
Yeah.
cranked that
I mean,
here, man. It's like,
as cliched as it sounds, they're definitive for a reason, and Yeah, but anytime someone says, "Hey, listen to this," I'll listen to it, and because I'm always up for broadening my horizons. So, but John Coltrane, dude, those songs, man, they take me places. But even big band swing drummers like Gene Krupa, I'll listen to that guy every day, man. He's phenomenal. You know. So
well, man, I'm with you because I've been through again like lots of music for me too, man. You know, like again, now with your funk, you were talking to me about funk before, so
yeah, dude.
I'm thinking, and people may disagree with me here, but I'd say they're punk, but I like that. You know, I think they got a funk element. I'm going to roll with. You probably would have had a listen to. Probably Sly and the Family Stone, and probably some MC5, and you know, like all that sort of
Parliament.
Yeah, man, and Funkadelic, man. Don't get me started on Maggot Brain. We'll talk to you all day about the album Maggot Brain, man. I can tell you how many times I've listened to that album. It is like, pwah.
But let me ask you, have you, to this day, in this age of CGI nonsense and all the rest, a band like Parliament, I think it's Parliament's Off the Roof, I think. I could be wrong if that's the name of the song, but the film clip for that song is just from another world. Like, they had a freaking spaceship on the stage. They had spacesuits. It was just theatrical. It was like, I mean, I know, man, I'm a Kiss fan till I die, but man, Funkadelic, the Parliament guys, man, what they did visually was just, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it to this day.
Man, I reckon, look, you know, Chinwags are about fluidity and honesty, and everyone knows my story and stuff. I spent a lot of time, how shall I say, broadening my mind when I was younger, and in more ways than one. And
didn't we all?
Yeah, and Parliament and Funkadelic were, well, you went through, you know, like you got in, you know, you went through your Led Zeppelin phase and you build through your classics and all that, and then how you find your favorites have like that. Now, Parliament was one that I remember watching a VHS video that had been recorded from someone else that had a Parliament VHS live video. And it was the flat spaceship with them in their costumes playing all their instruments, and like, you know, the 12 or 14 members or however many people there were. And I was like, that is so awesome. And then I thought, there must be more. And see, I'm like a bit of an obsessive. That's, you know, that's why I've, you know, stopped drinking and varying things. So I get caught up in things, Jesse. All right, I get a little excited about topics that I like.
That's okay.
And so I went backwards, and then I started coming into like all the Funkadelic stuff, and you know, Free Your Mind and Your Ass Will Follow, and Maggot Brain, and like and all that stuff. And dude, to this day, oh mate,
right?
Oh man, magic, man. Like, you know,
it's magic. That's to sum it up into one word, magic. But but those acts aside, man, I dove into James Brown like you wouldn't believe, man. Oh man, don't even get me started on that guy. Between him and Elvis, I was covered, man. Like, you know, singing and dancing like that, man, that just profound effect on me. But
man.
But yeah, like you said,
I don't know. Did you ever try and do a set of splits like James Brown did on stage one night, man? Or you thought, nah?
Mate, I thought about it, but I like my pants too, so nah.
I don't know. That man just and he back up. You know? Did you ever see? Did you ever see that Eddie Murphy skit that he did where he was James Brown in the hot tub? He's like, in the hot tub. I don't know. That was the things you laugh at, man, I suppose. You know, like,
I actually just last week watched a really cool live video of Eddie Murphy singing a James Brown song. I think it's Get Up Off That Thing. And he was actually singing it with the James Brown band and James Brown. And you just see James Brown stand next to him just smiling, man. It's like, man, that's just up there, right? Like, one thing to pay tribute to someone that you love, but then next minute to be on that stage with that person you love, sharing that song you love, it's, I don't know, man, that's surreal, man. It's, surreal moments. Yeah.
Oh man, they're the moments. That's what
they are.
Like to get little gifts like that in life, man. Is
absolutely.
That's luck. It's to take them things and enjoy them.
And I think we as people should be always grateful for any of those little moments, no matter what they are, whether it's a nod or a handshake or a conversation like this. We should always be grateful for all those little things that we get to experience. It's all part of life. Man. Yeah.
I agree with you. So I'm going to dabble into you've gone to your funk now. I'm thinking that probably in your mid-teens at this point, you were probably starting to get into some heavier sort of stuff that was appealing to you a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
and this is all coming from me listening to your tunes today.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Picking up bits and
pieces. You're doing good.
I hear a bit of that. I hear a bit of this.
Yeah.
And so I was hearing. Now, this is just me.
Go for it.
I was hearing some early 9 Inch Nails in there, man.
Yep.
I was hearing some Faith No More. I was hearing some early Marilyn Manson, probably no further than Mechanical Animals. I'm hearing that sort of a period.
Yep.
I was hearing some early Korn, probably leaning a little, like that sort of stuff. Going all right here, going all right.
You're doing good.
Yeah. And then I started hearing things that I couldn't quite get my finger on, and that's when I started thinking, there you are, there's your band. You know what I mean? But because I went through it in chronological order, man. Like where you started to where you finished, and so that's where I thought today I was like, I'm going to see you about this because it's like I too love early 9 Inch Nails, man.
Absolutely.
Big Faith No More fan. I had my moments. Much of us, in that 90s period, whether people like him or not now, but Marilyn Manson, Antichrist Superstar,
absolutely.
Mechanical Animals, man, was a great album. I thought
2 banger albums, dude.
Yeah, agreed. And and Korn have always been a favorite of mine since I heard them on Triple J back in the mid 90s and stuff. And I just heard a lot of that in your band. And so when you were in school and you were getting your writing together, you're forming this melodic thing with all the soundtracks and the movies and the visuals are appealing to you because you're a visual stage performer as well. So your theatrical side was coming out. Like all these things are working for you to this point, man. I'm just trying to put the pieces together. You crack that whip, brother. If I'm like overstepping the mark here, man,
No, you're doing good.
And I'm seeing it all form with you to what I saw today. And so I guess your comic books, what was that you read that? At what point did you recognize this is what I want to do musically and this is the theatrical side of me? I want to express myself. I've got to get this shit off my chest. I've been to NASA. These people I go to school with are giving me shit. It's there's lots of stuff happening. Take me away from there, man. You take me on this next part of the story. It's all yours.
Yeah, thanks, man. Oh, shit. Oh, wow. It's a lot to unpack. I mean, I found kindred spirits in my friends, friends that I have to this day. And you know, we formed that little posse where we were kind of like we were the little rebel group, man. Like we weren't like angsty rebels, but we were just rebels of, well, you guys can all be sheep and we'll just go be the black sheep, you know. So we kind of did that. We hung out and listened to Danzig and Faith No More and Body Count and 9 Inch Nails and all that, all the cool stuff, you know, that we loved, you know, like, and you know, my best friend to this day exposed me to the world of Guns N' Roses, and like that whole rock
Did you
and
get
roll.
into the whole? You would have got into like suicidal tendencies and what's the name of the American band that were independent and damn, I'm sure they start with F. They had damn. Anyway, continue. I'll come back to it like in an hour, because I flogged the hell out of them too, man.
Look, I didn't get deep into the suicidals as much as I'm coming around. Like I said, I'm a late bloomer to things, which I'm really cool with. I'm comfortable with it. Like I've in recent years, suicidal tendencies, Prince. I've recently.
I love Prince, man.
Yeah. Well, in the last, I don't know. Let's say in the last 10 years, I've slowly developed a very deep love with Prince, you know.
Man.
Yeah, like a guitarist friend that I'm friends with to this day that we were in a band together at one point. He introduced me to the world of Prince, man. And if you want a story, I've got a story for you.
Hit me.
Okay. So he's a very interesting guy, and he played for up until recently played for quite a famous goth rock band overseas, but now he's sort of, you know, taken a step away from it. But anyway, we were in this band together, and I turned up to his place one day, and he answers the door butt naked, like he just moved into this new apartment. And I'm like, okay. Like he's a very eccentric guy, so I've come to accept this. Oh man, trust me, he's a well-loved figure. But he basically said, you know, you go to some people's places and they say no shoes. Well, he went, I have no clothes. So basically, if you want to go into his house, you have to be butt naked. So you know, here we are, butt naked, and just. I don't know why, but I just trusted him and I felt comfortable. And he just showed me the world of Prince and played me, you know, the Purple Rain records and all that. And just, you know, just from that, we went into strapping young lads. So there you go. But, you know, we ended up going for a trek out to the beach, and with clothes on, of course, and we had to climb across a narrow cliff face that was, we could have easily fallen to our deaths. It was high up, and it was a very narrow cliff face that could have collapsed at any point. And we found ourselves on this beach, and there was no one there. It was just us. So we got naked and went swimming in the water, you know. And I don't know where I was going with that story, but it just, you know, music triggers memories. And so when I think of Prince, I think of one of my dearest friends, and I think of, you know, that just life moments, you know, and that was a life moment. And yeah, he was the kind of guy that would, you know, you'd go to a Static X concert and everyone was in black T-shirts and makeup and all the rest, and he turns up in blue jeans and a strawberry shortcake T-shirt, you know, just did the polar opposite of what everyone else did, you know. And I think I found myself, I guess the moral of my story, the point I'm making is I found myself really connected with people like that just thought outside the box, didn't follow the typical trends of everything else. Just basically, you know, we didn't try to do it to be cool or anything. We just wanted to just be our own person, and just you listen to our music that we wanted to listen to, not that, you know, anybody else could tell us what we'd listen to. And you know, that's where my musical taste found the worlds of Strapping Young Lad and Slayer and friggin' Mayhem and all those extreme heavy bands, but then also found a deep love for guys like Prince and Huey Lewis and the News, and just I don't know, I just found a love for music in all its forms, but then with comics, you asked me about comics early on. I think one of my first memories of a comic book was an old issue of Daredevil where Elektra gets stabbed. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's her or Jean DeWolf or someone gets, or Karen Page gets stabbed with the sai, the ninja sai. But I
would
just
have been in the Frank Miller run, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it was one of the Frank Miller Daredevils. That was one of the first that I read, earliest memories. But a lot of the early comics, man, just that I found myself falling in love with, there's, of course, Spider-Man and all that. But I really found myself drawn to characters like Captain Marvel, original Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
The one that's dead, that's still dead.
Yeah.
There was something about that character that just resonated with me. Just a true warrior, a person that spoke from the heart and lived to inspire people. And something about that character and Jim Starlin, the way he shaped that character, just really resonated with me in the way that I wanted to be with people. Also, I wanted to create and inspire people and make people happy. So it kind of sat with me. I'm hoping that there's a point in all of that I just explained.
To me, there's a perfect point, man. I totally see that, because I can also see how, with you being a young fella that was interested in space and starting to express himself too, in varying ways, is like Captain Marvel at that particular time was an interesting character. He was a standout from from what I can understand of him. I mean, mate, everyone's different what captures them. I think I constantly bang on doing chinwags about, to me, the most important thing is creativity, and whatever that spark is that sets that fire, man. And
absolutely,
whatever the path is, whatever the comic book character is, man, if it means something to you, then that's all that matters.
That's it, man. That's all that matters.
Because, dude, I've had the strangest influences, man. It's I'm all over the board, man. I grew up with comics. The Crow is my comic. That's the one where, when I was a little boy, and found the 2 issues in a book exchange, I was used to, muscle men and tight fitting things. And then I saw a comic book that was, wow, that doesn't look like what I've been reading.
It's completely different.
A little while later, everything came together, and I recognized the sum is greater than the parts, and to me that opened my mind up. And then, but at the same time, I'm a huge fan of life stories too, of how people like yourself, get through what they get through to create things. So people like Jackson Pollock is a huge influence on me. Ivor Hillay, an Australian war artist, is a huge influence on me. Things like that, man. I don't just block myself, much like yourself, into any particular genre. I just let it. Something about that, whatever it is that catches my attention, is gets me. But with the the Marvel. I can totally see too, because when I was watching the video, particularly the video clip today about the song I was talking to you about, that struck me. It was just a song visually by the lake, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, because this is your hands-on approach, which I really like with what you did with the comic books. And we're coming into all of that. It's I liked the fact, and I can see with what you just said there about how Marvel resonated with you, and you wanted to, be good for people and make people happy, and make them feel special. And at the end of that film clip, you had two phrases. Now, I'm going to paraphrase them, but one was, "We are not slaves."
Mm-hmm.
And the other one after it was something like, "We are ourselves," or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was, I found that to be particularly cool with me, because I like individuality as well, mate. I like that people can be themselves, and I think people should be allowed to. So that part of that song and what you're putting across there with "Don't be a slave" and, like, be yourself, that sort of thing, was something that I greatly appreciated as well.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
That today, because I saw that today and I was like, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because I'm very much, I hate how people have become numbers in society, and they're not, and they're not like, you're not Lee and you're not Jesse. You're like, your tax file number, before you're a name and stuff. I hate all that stuff, man.
Yeah, it's it's an interesting world we live in now, and I, without going too crazy into it, but just little things that I noticed, like in the world of Instagram and stuff, like it's just people are, I don't know, just valued by the likes they get or the content they put out, and it's not even organic content. It's just all, I don't know, it's very cliched, and it's, I don't know, it's kind of it's a very transparent, very robotic world. It's kind of, I don't know, every time I see shit like that, I think of Terminator 2 and bloody Skynet. I think, Skynet's taken over.
Yeah. I think what you were saying also earlier too about like, I think people, when it comes to creativity, whether it's music or, like anything that's going to be judged by other people that are out there in the world, people seem to me to be, again, everyone listening, just my opinion, like, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Yours can be different from mine. Love you all. People are playing it really safe. It's like gone are the days where people are pushing the threshold with their ideas and how they want to do things. You know what I mean? Like, there seem to be so many rules to creativity now that the playing field's getting smaller and smaller. You know what I mean? Like, and I find it refreshing to meet people that are like, nah, bugger that. Let's pop this. You know what I mean? And try things.
Absolutely.
That's just me though. I'm noticing that through social media's interactions with different people and stuff like that, man. Even walking down the street, people play it safe. You know what I mean?
Well, it's kind of interesting. Like, without getting sort of controversial or whatever, but I was recently accepted for an event, and the organizer said to me, "Look, one of your comics is very graphic. Is there any way you can cover it up from the public eye?" And I thought about it for a minute. I thought, well, events that I've done where kids that much like myself when I was a kid, talking about, how I talked about the way I grew up watching horror and all this cool stuff, and seeing these kids come to my table at events, and they're drawn to the gore and the zombies, and they're just like, oh, I love zombies and I love blood and guts. And it's like, well, that's cool, man. Like, that's, we come from a world where guys like Stan Winston and that were gods to us, you know,
Carlos Rimbaldi, man,
Karloff.
like all that stuff, man. The
Yeah,
dude doing Alien and Dune and all,
yeah,
all that
Giga
stuff
and
was just mind blowing, man.
Provocative, but it was all provocative. It was thinking outside the box. It was not safe.
Yeah.
So to be asked, hey, I need you to play it safe, it's kind of goes against my beliefs a little bit, I mean, of course, I won't do the wrong thing, but at the same time, too, it's like I'm not going. If a kid wants to see blood and guts, I'm going to show them blood and guts. With parental consent, of course. But that's it's just interesting. That's trying to find
that's the real check on yourself, isn't it? When someone asks that, I think. Again, you're not running around shoving it in kids' faces. You know what I mean?
But
not if parents are okay with everything and this is what they would like to purchase their young whippersnappers, you know what I mean? Then no problem.
That's the thing. Yeah, like I don't. If I meet kids, I don't say to them, I'm going to eat your soul and, bring you to the dark side or nothing like that. I just go, hey, man, what are you into? What do you like? And they'll tell me what they like. And, I'm straight away thinking, well, you're probably, if I've got something on my table that they'll like, I'll go, hey, you should read this. It's just pretty cool. And I talk about it with them and their parents. And next thing you know, the parents are like, yeah, okay, cool. Let's do that, because it's just educating people, giving people, taken and past the point of perception and just expanding their minds to, the depth, the meaning, the true meaning behind what they see on the face value. And,
The other thing that people, I think, and it saddens me to a certain extent, because I would think in a world where the world is far more open to people now than it was when we were younger, God, you had to read an encyclopedia to understand what a particular country was, you know what I mean? When now you can Google it, you can do, you can basically walk around it if you want to, to think that, like you were just mentioning, yes, perhaps one of these comic books that you create may be violent, but it's not violent deliberately. It's violent in the style of the comic book that it is, the content of what you need to create to push the story forward. But at the same time, with your sensibilities, you're also producing a lovely children's book, you know what I mean, that is beside this. And I find it unusual that someone would just automatically come back and pigeonhole you for that particular comic book when I think that you've got several that are very much Jesse Dracman, but are of different levels as well, For me personally, dude, I would not have been particularly impressed by being asked that. How I operate and where I am as a human being, knowing myself now at 46 years of age, I probably would have, thank you very much for the offer, I won't be accepting that, and probably walked away. That's just me, but I don't agree with censorship and shit like that, man. I think, to a certain, not of creating, like creative voicing, you know what I mean? Like, certainly censorship when it comes to like violence and stuff on streets and things like that, and awful things that people don't need to. But when it comes to creation, like comic books and paintings and things like that, expressionism is like a very, very healthy thing. And I believe that's possibly one of the reasons why there is so much, one of the causes of so much mental health and people not being able to express how they feel in today's world, man, because they they can't get it out verbally, vocally,
I agree.
And I think,
well, it's funny, because what we've just what we've been talking about with childhoods and listening to music and opening those imaginary doorways and stuff like that. You don't get that in today's world. And if you do, like, I apologize, but I find it's it's a different world today creatively to the world that we grew up in. Like we had the power of our imagination. We didn't have the answers given to us on a silver platter. Whereas today you can just, like you say, pick up your phone and it's like it's like 2-minute noodles. It's bam, there you go, instant answer. Whereas using the power of music or reading, you could unlock doorways in your mind and create your own ideas and your own interpretations through your creativity and your imagination. And I just feel like those doorways are getting narrower in today's world. But I mean, that's just me.
Well,
that's
I would tend to agree with you, mate. But again, like for me, I don't have children. I only know from people that I know that are younger than me and what I see walking, around and people getting by. I don't know them personally. People may have different views, but to me, I would agree from my assessment of things from the outside looking in. Yes, because the one thing, with creativity for me, Jesse, and I think when I'm at my most stressed, and I can get stressed. I'm a pretty relaxed dude, right? But we can have our peak moments, dude, where things just boom onto us. And I tend to find in my moments of stress, I'm one of those dudes that doesn't just get one thing. You know what I mean? I'll have like 3-4 months of, and the minute I'm like, it's all good, it's just like boom, bucket full of fish. You know what I mean? It's like, and I find in those moments, man, that that's usually when I pull back from social media and people and things like that, because I find it's a little bit easier just to step back, not have things in your face all the time, or people or those sorts, and just breathe, man, and just allow yourself time to yourself and to think and analyze this shit. I think that sometimes too, man, creativity can get lost, and possibly to a certain extent, and like from my view, can be a little perhaps not pushing the boundaries, because people don't have those moments where they can be with themselves in the mind. You know what I mean? To
that's right.
allow their mind to stretch and think about things. You know what I mean? And some ideas are good, some ideas are bad. Like, I mean, there's like whatever works, man. But
that's right.
my take on things, man. Because I've been since sobriety. 2.5 years ago and onwards into my 3rd year,
Congrats.
I've had this. Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. It means a lot. Thank you. I've been on this creative, like rocket for talking about space. I'll use that. Like anything I can do to increase my creativity and just spark those songs, anything, man. And I've gone down like lots of like meditation things, spiritual things, lots of things to try and kick. And the one thing out of all of it that I've found that produces the ideas the most within my mind is time to myself, away from things, with like your Miles Davis and your Coltrane going in the background, listening to the song, like just little things, not everything in your face and ba-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding going off and like, it's just time, that is just me.
No, it's good.
We were talking to before something I want to touch on, because now I know that you're quite happy to talk about this. It's something that I noticed recently is now comic book conventions.
Yes.
Now, I'm no expert on them. I don't profess to be. I'm just looking at the facts. So I'm not judging anyone, right? But the facts are the Brisbane and the Gold Coast Supernova over 6 months out, sold out of Artist Alley and, like varying tables, there is no more openings for
Nope.
any more creators, independents,
Nope.
like anything.
You got to go on a wait list.
You got to go on a wait list. So I found it interesting as I was sort of because things that catch my interest, I like to have a look at.
Yeah, of course.
And I found the lack of creators with comic books, independent or, however, the lack of them at these places disturbing. It
Yep.
seems to be overtaken by fan art. No offense to fan art.
No.
God love you. You do what
Yep.
you got to do to make a quid.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying anything against it. I'm a creator of comic books. I'm talking from a creator's perspective. And I'm seeing a lot of that sort of stuff. And it worries me as someone who knows people, yourself, varying other people that can't even get a look in, mate. You know what I mean? Like, what are your thoughts? Because I know you're a regular at these gigs and stuff like that as well. You like to get out and about, and you're a people person and meet other creators. What are your thoughts on the comic book conventions at the moment with that?
Yeah, look, it's like I'm still pretty new to it. I think 2 or 3 years in, but doing the conventions. But I've been going to the conventions for a long time, so I've been a fan. I always go because I want to meet the guests. Like I've gotten to meet Todd McFarlane and Richard Keel and Tony Todd and even David Harris from the Warriors, who I've created a friendship to this day.
Hey, how's that for a dream, man? Hey, watching that as a kid doing a book, and there he is, your mate.
There he is.
Beautiful thing, man.
It's crazy, man.
Magic.
But in the last year, I found myself doing a lot of conventions. So I did Taz Pop Down in Tasmania. I did Supernova Gold Coast, Adelaide and Brisbane. Fraser Pop in Maryborough, Capricorn in Rockhampton, Gladstone PopCon in Gladstone. So I really got out there because I wanted to meet the people and just see what the markets were like. And man, kids just love seeing someone that's created comic books or written a book. There's everyone's into different things, right? And it's interesting, man. The fan art thing, I'm not against it. God love them. They've got to make a quid. And I have friends that do it. But at the same time, too, you also are privy to hear some of the conversations these guys have. And the focus is about how much money they make. It's not about, oh, I met this really cool kid that wants to draw. It's more like, oh, yeah, I only made $3,000 this weekend. And it's like, man, I'd be stoked if I just made, the money back on my table and then some, which I'm fortunate that I do. But for me, the convention thing, it's such a vital platform for us creators. It is such a platform for us to showcase the talent here in Australia, who we are as creators, but it's also a really good opportunity for us to meet each other too, man, because through these conventions, even when I wasn't a vendor, when I was just a fan, I always went down to the indie press zone and just always met all the artists and the authors and that, and just got talking to them, not to steal ideas, but just to get inspiration and just get guidance. And man, it's really sad when you hear things like, a major event like, that getting sold out, because it's, I did one on the Gold Coast recently, and most of the stalls were fan art stalls. And and that's not me firing shots. I'm just saying, like, that's what I saw. That was my observation.
It's a fact. Like, it's there. So you're not making stuff up. Like, it's there.
No. And it's great. I mean, look, it is great. Like, I love seeing there are some amazing, talented artists that do incredible pieces of, all the stuff that's cool right now, because that's what they do. They follow the trends of what is good right now. Because I remember for the longest time it was Stranger Things, so every second person wanted an Eddie art print, you know. So if you wanted to make money, you did prints of Eddie, you know. And you know, and that's the thing. But the downside is that there's no gateway to expose them to new ideas, you know. And some artists, they do it. There are some guys, I won't name names for, you know, nothing negative or positive, just you know, out of respect, but there are guys that they use the fan art as a necessary evil to finance what they do, and I respect it. I respect them, you know, God love them for it. But they also promote their own original work as well. So like some guys have original graphic novels and stuff, which is great. And that to me is a perfect compromise. But when you've got people that are just exclusively fan art, but there's, you know, 20 plus of the same thing, it's, you know, we're not a huge population of creators, but man, it sucks when there's an event that you think, you know, you go around and you count the number of creators like you that are at each event, and you can count on one hand how many actual creators there are. And it's sad.
I would think, man, that the word you used there, describing that compromise, would possibly be the most active word, because I understand that cons are about making money. They've got, you know, like big buildings they're in, light staff, all that. They want to put the things in there that attract the most, you know, like off street, you know, like punters, and to bring them in. And that's obviously a very good way of doing things.
Of course.
People making money off doing other, you know, all that stuff. 100%, man. It's not about that for me. Like, I just want to make it clear in case anyone out there is going like, what's this dickhead about to say? Well, what I'm going to say is that compromise. I think what you said there, Jesse, and what you can see in conventions is also across the board of creativity. People seem to be scared to have a look at new ideas. People seem to be scared to push boundaries of creativity. Instead, they go back into their safety nets and they go for what they know. They do not go and have a look at, hey, what is that? Let me have a look at that. Let me have a look at this. Hence, we're getting so many bloody remakes of movies. Hence, we're getting so, you know, prequels, all these things. I mean, independent cinema is dying. I mean, I doubt someone like David Lynch could get into a cinema now, you know what I mean, with the original content and things like that. That's what I'm disappointed at. And to think that, like, people that are creators, that when you were that little kid, or I was that little kid that went and got comic books off the newsstand, that was blown away by meeting these people, you know what I mean? Those kids won't have the opportunity to go and meet those people. And therefore, it worries me for the state of Australian comic books, you know, and the strength of the medium. That's where I'm at. I just would think that if you're at Comic Con, there's possibly, you know, it's age-old argument, but you do. Hello, Don Ticchio, you champion. What a good man.
Hey, that's cool.
With Comic Con, I would think that there's possibly, you know, possibly think about having a comic or two there. But, you know, I mean, it's just me.
Well, it's true, man, because like you hit the nail on the head, you know, and expanding on my point about compromise, because you know, there was an event where Tom Taylor was a guest. Now, you know, he is without a doubt one of Australia's biggest exports in the comic industry as a writer. But he had to start somewhere too. You know, I remember when he was doing Novas as a small fry guest, you know, like, and always loved talking to him, and he's never changed. He's always been one of the good guys. But the problem is that we celebrate on a grand platform like these conventions people like Tom Taylor. But the thing is,
Mm.
for the kids that love his work, or they love or want to get into comic books, they're missing out on that education of finding other creators, of finding that next Tom Taylor, or whoever for that matter, you know, a new Todd McFarlane, or Jim Starlin, or any of the greats out there. You know, they're there. They're just not getting the opportunity to be seen.
Yep.
And if they do get the opportunity, it's a very, very small window. You know, and I know there's probably people that disagree with that, but you know, that's just speaking from experience. You know. And
Mate, these are all observations made by you. I don't judge. I would hope that no one viewing this judges anyone's opinion on any of these chinwags. This is the beauty of the chinwag, mate.
Honestly, don't get me wrong, man. I'm humble and grateful for all the opportunities and all the events that I've gotten to be a part of. Some of which I've been invited to the regionals as a guest, to actually be a guest speaker, and which I've thoroughly enjoyed, because it's given me a chance to not use it as a talk about me, myself and I, but more talk about the opening that doorway that my English teacher opened for me, and transferring that idea to young minds, or even, you know, our age group, you know, of people that want to create, you know, and just saying, I can and I will, you know. That's to me the essence of what's so important about doing these conventions, is opening those doorways for the next creator to come through and have a shot, you know, much like what I did with music, man. It's the same thing.
Did you find with music that when you were coming through, because now for anyone out there, I'm going to let Jesse tell you about his music, because you can obviously see that music plays a huge part in his creative journey as well, and that'll tee into how the comic books came about once that rolled in. But now you were on a large scale of music performer. You weren't like pub band, you know what I mean, like, or playing in front of 10 people. You would have been obviously when you started, but you know, like, you got to fairly, you know, like respectable, I would say, like level. So tell us the name, man. Talk us through that little journey, because it's all tied into you.
Well, I mean, for 10 years, over 10 years, I've been part of a band called Dark Cell. We're in a very deep hibernation at the moment, you know, just because, I mean, it's a long story, but anyway, we came up through the ranks like any band, dude. We did it for fun. We still, to this day, always did it for fun. But we played to those 4 people. You know, we did shows where we traveled all the way to Sydney to play to 4 people in a pub. Exactly like that, man. But we played like every gig we played like we were playing to 10,000 people. You know, that was our attitude, was every show had to count. And we put on the same 110% performance every time. I gave it everything on stage till I had nothing left in the tank, you know, like that was the attitude that we hit the stage with every performance. And yeah, I mean, the hard work pays off, you know, like we were fortunate. We got to a level where we got to tour with most of our favorite bands. You know, we got to play the Soundwave Festival, not once, but twice, but even though the second time got cancelled. But you know, we got to tour with, you know, bands like Motionless in White, and numerous times Wednesday 13, and you know, rubbing shoulders with the likes of Rob Zombie and Korn, and you know, all these great guys. And then our music took us to around America and all over Europe, playing to, you know, thousands of people in Germany at a festival with, you know, bands like Cradle of Filth, and you know, all these incredible bands. So yeah, it was a time, dude, you know. And we met some amazing people, made some amazing fans, made incredible music. And the pandemic, you you know, it kind of gave us an opportunity to just live life again, because I mean, for a lot of people, you don't realize what goes into what you have to do to get in that position. And we were by no means, by no means do I say we're up there with Motley Crue or any of those sort of bands. We're way off, but we got to a point where to get to even that point, we gave up so much. We sacrificed weddings, funerals, birthdays, like important life events that you should never give up. But we sacrificed finances, relationships, you name it, we sacrificed it to give people, the best show we could give them and the best music we could give them, and it was a great time, man. And we learned so much about ourselves and each other, and it's helped me with what I do with my comics today, man. So I'm very grateful. Very grateful.
Have you found on your travels that whether it be comics or music, just touching on what you were saying there, that the creativity and the drive that you obviously had to be successful, like you were with Dark Cell, did you find that there was lots of sacrifice for the creativity, for that freedom, as you just touched on? Like it's and is that why you've had a little bit of a break now, just to decompress back into reality, love the people you love and who you're with, and just touch base again, like with
pretty much
around yourself and that? Because
pretty much.
I think you just described that really well, man, because
thank you.
That's 100% okay, mate, because I like it when honesty is a good thing. And the other thing is, man, like whether you being in a successful band, but just like I could hear it there with you, man, like just saying like, oh, the things we sacrifice, like funerals, weddings, things that people take for granted, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't think many people realize the sacrifices that creatives in general sacrifice, mate.
No, that's it. Like, there's a lot, and it can take a toll mentally on you as well. I think it's been a hot minute since we've been together making music, but having that time to just be human and live life and do normal things, it's amazing. It's a time of healing, that's for sure.
Because you would have had a lot of emotional burnout too, I'm assuming, because with all touring stuff, there's no sleeping. There's you got to keep going. You're up, you're down, you're partying, you're banding, you're giving it your all. And like, I mean, I never had the opportunity to see you live, but as I said to you today, particularly majority of the day, I've been watching all of Dark Cell's YouTube stuff and listening to your album and album, I should say. And just soaking it all in, just so I help get a picture of you, Jesse. And there's definite energy, mate, coming through. You know what I mean? Like even on your live clips, like okay, like you're like, man, I'm surprised you didn't have someone drag you off at the end. Like you would have been.
It got a bit like that.
Because like and it wasn't just a rock and roll performance, metal performance you were putting on, man. I mean, you guys were like in a high level theatric, like, there's makeup, there's boots, you had your own style thing going on and image that you had on stage. I mean, God, man, I even in one of the things, like the weird things I noticed that you had a particular microphone stand that looked like it had chains, welded together so it could come up. And I noticed that. And I was like, man, you guys are like, to me, I like detail. I've just always been someone that appreciates detail, and I looked at that today while I was watching and I was like, respect. You know what I mean? Like you took the time to like go to that detail, man. Like, so no, like the whole thing, is really good. And the fact that you're you know, like you're obviously mindful and been through a lot, probably more than I would never expect you to discuss things like on the show. But obviously,
Mm.
from the way that you felt, like I felt that, man, when you said
Yeah, thanks, man.
you sacrificed a lot. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I'll just let people dwell on the sacrifices of creatives, because while people are out there enjoying the CDs and reading the comics and stuff like that, the stuff that goes on behind scenes, you know what I mean, like can be very
Yeah.
heavy, and
Oh yeah,
like
it's a
we are
road.
all
It's a
people.
long
Yeah,
road. It's a long
yeah,
road, man. You know.
yeah, for
And
sure.
I've learned that in comics as well, man. It's a long
Mm,
road, man. So, but we do
yeah.
it because we love it, you know.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's the
yeah,
main thing, man. Like, if you come into anything that you do creatively first without love, like, I think the biggest mistake you can make, man, is like if you do anything without love, man, you on the wrong road, dude. You know what I mean?
hmm
Like, you gotta feel it, man. Like
you
to
do, you
want.
do.
Like you can't just be, and I'll make $1 million, but like,
Nope,
no.
nope.
Like, yeah, it may happen. There's some that get lucky, but like it's long roads, man. These things, like
Yeah,
and pain and blood and lots of stuff that go into it.
there
And
is.
you're right, relationships sacrificed, friendships lost, all for the sake of art, mate. You know what I mean?
That's
It's
it.
pretty unbelievable. Something I never realized either until I started doing all this sort of stuff, man. And so yeah, it's just nice to hear someone else. It's
Yeah,
obviously that sort of thing. Not nice as such, but I feel it when you
yeah.
mention it. Now, you've gone through to the pandemic. Now, with you're very hands-on here. I like it. You've got your identity with the band. You're growing up with your mates. You're coming through. You've been driving down to Sydney to play in front of 4 people, but you're like, fuck, I'll give it to them, man, because this is what I believe in, and I like that. You got the spirits pumping. You come into the pandemic. You need some time. It came along at a good time. What you were saying, I need a breather. The boys need a breather. We've been through a lot. You got the ideas of Stephen King and Daredevil and Frank and stuff in your mind, like when you were in Dark Cell and you were on the road. So I'm coming into this point now where pandemic, and we're going to start hitting and touching base with your comics and stuff in a sec,
hmm
man. But because you're writing the lyrics for Dark Cell, you know you've got thoughts there, like I was touching on before, about the you are not a slave. Like you want people, you're trying to get the message across that people, be yourself, you are unique and beautiful. You know what I mean? Smile, love life. These are all great messages in, well, strange times. But
Mm,
these are important messages for people to remember. Pride yourself on your uniqueness and love yourself,
yeah.
um, and have self worth. And if anyone treats you like shit, kick them out the door, and politely. And were you writing your stories at this point while you were doing lyrics? Were you writing diaries of your travels? Were you journaling? Like, how were you keeping your
Yeah.
writing going, man?
Well, where it all started was, it goes back to 2015 when we toured America. Um, I mean, I didn't even know how I pulled this off, because at that point I was still drinking.
Mm,
I mean, I'm like you, man. I'm quite a few years sober now, so I'm pretty
yeah,
happy about that. But
yeah.
at the time, man, I was living the life,
Well,
but
congratulations for you too, Jesse, mate.
thanks,
Like,
buddy.
well done.
Appreciate it. Thank you. But
That's
the thing
cool.
was, I kept my mum gave me a bunch of notebooks and said, just in case you want to put ideas down or whatever, or keep a diary. So I did. I kept a daily diary,
Yeah.
um, every day that we were on the road for 6 weeks, and I just documented, you know, just all the important things, the things that we tend to forget. And so, fast forward years later, I put it all together into a manuscript to put into create a novel from it.
Yeah.
And long story short, the bands that one of the bands, the main band that we were touring with, got heavily into it. A heavy divorce between band members and courts and all this sort of stuff, and we kind of got pulled into it a bit. So my vision of putting the book out was put on hold for the indefinite time, because it has nothing indiscriminate about that band or anything like that, but just out of respect to my friends, I chose not to publish it. So I went with plan B, and I had this idea, and this is where the Stephen King thing came in. I started thinking about, well, I don't know where exactly it started, but I had this idea, reading through my notes, going, fuck, this is a great story and I want to share it. But what if I turned it into a series of books, but turned it into a horror story? So you get to read the exploits of the band going on tour, but we've got a world of werewolves and vampires and zombies and everything else. And I wrote what would be the first novella, that was Frankenstein. And that was my therapy during pandemic. Because I had friends that were, like myself, weren't dealing with things very well. A lot of us went to dark places. Some didn't make it back. And I had to think fast, and because I didn't want to go down that road. I could see that road and I didn't want to go there. So I started writing, and I found very quickly that was a very, very self-healing form of therapy that helped me just get my brain, just kept my creative juices flowing. And I had such a good time writing this story, and I shared it with friends, and the response was really cool. And a lot of people commented on my writing style, saying it's like you're talking to us. It's like you're having a conversation. And it's like you can visualize what's happening. You can see it all happening. And one friend said to me, it reads like a comic book. And it just went, a little light bulb just went off in my head, and I went, yeah, a comic book. And I just straight away just started thinking about writing a comic book version, because I had this plan to do like 12 novellas of Frankenstein and create these short stories. Which I might go back to one day, because I only made one book. But I just went with starting a comic book, and I came out with this anti-hero for the rock and roll generation. Basically, I just took the skeleton of my story, which was touring America, and in this comic book series, I've created the story of a band that gets mauled by werewolves and reassembled and turned into this entity called Frankenstein. Along with our tour manager Chippy, we ride across America in the very RV that we traveled across America in, slaying monsters in every city that we played in. Every venue that we played in is in the comic book. And while we're looking for a decent burrito,
a decent burrito.
Yeah, because we lived on 37-cent burritos from Walmart, man, and they fill the belly, but they don't fill the happiness.
Oh, dear God, it's I could only imagine, like, after a while, it would have been like that dude who was just eating McDonald's for a month, man. You would have started to feel not like healthy, and like it would have been like, whoa, I'm not feeling real flashy, like.
No. Well, we had moments like that, but lucky we
Hey, you were young, man. You were young. You were rocking. You know what I mean? You were partying. You were traveling. I mean, like, dude,
we made sure we had two things always in the RV, man. Fridge full of beer, more so for our tour manager, and always had burritos and scoops. We don't have scoops in Australia, but the tortilla corn chips. We had tortilla corn chips that are called scoops. So like you scoop them in melted cheese, and it's something that we're sadly missing here in Australia. It's freaking awesome, but so
memories. Memories, man. It's
but but that's what I'm transferring in my comic books, man. That's all those memories. So Yeah.
Well, I think that's cool too, because that's generally for me what the best writing, the best reading of comic books is stuff that is based on reality, man, and
Mm.
put into a way that is digestible to you,
Mm.
in terms of like what worked for you. Because I mean, I'm assuming all of the band stuff would have like you would have been and then wow, wounded, need time to heal, pandemics hit, not able to catch up with mates and stuff, go into lockdown. Because I know you're a big city boy these days, and you would have been back then in Brisbane.
Mm-hmm.
I never had that because I'm from Townsville up in
Yep.
far north, and mate, it was business as usual, man. I think
Yeah.
we had a total lockdown of like, mate, I think 2 days from memory, where
Wow.
everyone sat in their houses, and then it was just like everyone just go about their business. You know what I mean? Like, so I never essentially experienced the whole. I've been in my house for 9 months, and
Oh, mate.
scratching the walls, sort of thing. Like the
It was,
hedges,
bro.
like.
It was like Walking Dead, dude. It was like
Mhm.
times that I could get out because you could get out of your apartment to go get groceries if necessary, as long as you proved that you were going to get groceries. And I would walk down the main streets of the city that were normally dominated with traffic and foot traffic, and there was not a soul on the street, man. It
Yeah,
was like a scene out of Walking Dead, dude. Just
yeah.
Rick Grimes just on a horseback going through the highway of
How
emptiness.
did you prove that you were just going shopping? Did just some bloke go,
Uh,
"Hey, Jesse, where are you going, mate? You better just be going shopping." Yeah, mate, I'm just going shopping. All right, mate.
no,
Off you
well, I remember you could get away with it if you had a shopping bag.
go.
I kid you not, dude.
Oh yes, like, let's shut the country down, and as long as you got a shopping bag, you can go anywhere you want.
Pretty much, man. Yeah, yeah,
Oh man,
yeah.
don't. Just societal things, man. They make me laugh. Hey,
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's crack up, man.
yeah, but not the mental health issue, because there was a lot of people that suffered mental health issues
Yeah,
then,
yeah, man.
and it was a terrible thing. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you were able to get through it from creativity, mate. Like,
Yes.
and creativity saved you from that, man. Where, without going into details, I'm assuming that some of the other folk that you know of, I mean, I know folk that didn't have anything creative and that live in other states and territories and things, struggled because they
Yeah.
just didn't have anything that they could get them get it out, man.
Yeah.
And
Well, at that point, I just started becoming a roadie, working behind the scenes, just to keep my feet in the door of music. And a lot of the friends that I made that are roadies, when pandemic hit, that was disconnected. So our lifeline was gone.
yeah,
And a lot of my I had friends that aren't with us anymore because they just couldn't hold on and
yeah,
get through it. So yeah, it's friggin' yeah. There's a lot of darkness around that time of our lives, but there's a lot of good that came out of it. A lot of people recreated themselves and created new lives, and people like me started writing books, and yeah, there's certain good parts to it. So yeah.
Well, people like you started, writing comic books, man, maintaining a positive attitude throughout all the punches and the ass kicks, man, which is a difficult thing to do. Trust me, like, I can tell you, it's hard to keep your chin up when you feel like you're just getting belted left, right, and center. But
Yeah, man.
you've got to keep, only forward, as they say.
That's it, man. That's it.
Now, what with Freakenstein, now you finished that comic book series now for the time being, haven't you? There were 4 issues from memory, or
There is no.
bringing
I'm on number 5 right now. I'm working
right
on number
now.
5. Yep.
Beautiful. Now,
Yeah,
what I
man.
want to get to you with is here, because you mentioned your environmental processes earlier by recycling. Now,
Mhm.
You are a busy dude, because like even like we had to work our ways into, for you to be here tonight. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
tricky because
Thanks, Ace, man.
you got a house, and like you're hustling, you're doing your thing, you're living, man. You're
Hmm.
doing your thing, and that's cool. Um, but I love the fact, man, that what I like about you, Jesse, from what I can piece together here, man, in the limited like the time I've spent with you today and the 45 minutes I've spent with you today, you're sensitive to things, so you're empathic, you're aware of what's going on around you, but in order to get things done, you don't give a fuck. If you want to get it done and you need to do it, you will do it one way or another. And that's a very like determination, man, not anger. Anger turned into determination is an amazing ability, and it's one I respect. You being able to like use your like, I am going to recycle. It is good for everything. I've been, because some people, Jesse, would, they've been in a rock and roll band, man,
Mm.
of some caliber, would not think along these lines of you, like the way you're thinking in terms of, I'm going to recycle, I'm going to use that money to put it towards the comic book, create like yourself as the writer,
Mm.
but the artist, and help them out and legit pay for them in, troubled times, because I want to see that done. And then you compartmentalize your life into other areas, like, so you're organized, you're motivated. Again, Freakenstein. You've got the Warriors,
The
the
Furious.
Furies comic
Yeah.
book with Warriors. Like I love the Warriors, but those baseball bat carrying dudes, man.
Well,
Like
they're the basis of my story, dude. So
yeah,
yeah.
the
But I mean,
freakiest dudes ever when you're a
mm,
kid was those
oh yeah,
guys. You
yeah.
know, and
But yeah.
man, just with respect, like
Mm.
what what honestly drives you to do that? Because to me it's just like you just seem really, well, you're very self-aware of what you want. I think it's a good quality, but I genuinely, like, for my lack of articulation, would suggest that you are very motivated, and if you need to do something, you will find whatever means necessary to do it. And is
Yeah.
that
Yeah. I mean, look, that's a really good question. It's man, I wish I could say it's easy every day, but it's not. I mean, I have days where I'll be honest. I never ever say it out loud, but I have days sometimes where my head is so low that I almost have tears, because I'm just like, man, why am I doing this to myself? Like I just um because it's some days are easier than others. Yeah,
yeah,
because after the process of creativity is one thing, but then you've got to become the salesman, and you've got to get people to look and get into your product, and that's another thing altogether. And in this day of social media domination, it's a very bitter pill to swallow if you're not that person that you know knows the algorithms and knows how to create content, and be that player in the scene. And all you're trying to be is authentic and just sell authentic product. It's very hard to some days keep your head up, keep your chin up.
yeah,
But for me, I just reflect on a lot of what we talked about tonight. um, Family and childhood, and the power of imagination and bringing ideas to life. And I think to myself, if I don't do this, somebody else will, or nobody will. you know and I don't know. I don't have a definitive answer of what drives me, but I just know it's something that I've got to do. And I've always carried this attitude and this advice that I've given to people, um, in music, and even nowadays in art. In comics, I go, man, don't be that person that lives life going, oh yeah, I used to have long hair, I used to be in a band, I woulda, I shoulda, I didn't. And I sort of prided myself on never being that person. you know, because I've met those people so many times. You know, they're all nice enough, and they, you know, but then they start telling you how they used to be like you, but then they grew up and got a real job or whatever. And I think, man, like, yeah, that as long as you're happy in life, that's you be you, man. But for me, I just know these stories or voices in my head of sorts, they don't turn off, man. So I've got to get them out there on paper and share it with the world. I think they're special stories, and to the audience that I have, I'm extremely grateful that people are with me on this journey. So yeah, I keep pushing myself every day to do it. And like you said, I find myself, even today, I was dive bombing into a big smelly wheelie bin to get recycling out, you know, to keep the kitty afloat so that I can finance my artists to bring my ideas to life, man, and pay for my printing. So, you know, and a lot of people would say to me, oh, why don't you do Patreon or Kickstarter? And it's like, well, I don't know, it's not my thing. It's I have my reasons, and that's not my thing. Yeah, for me, I found recycling is just something different, and it's not me trying to be trendy and, you know, start a new trend or anything like that. It's just me. I've found a platform that I can do something ethical for the environment without being a tree hugging hippie or anything like that. But do something that supports people in less fortunate situations than I am overseas, but also you know, it gives more meaning to what I create. So, you know, I value what I create more, is what I'm saying.
I think that's beautifully said, man. I respect totally. I would 100%. It does give more value. You're right. It does give more value to your work for you personally, because I can see through how you answered that, everything there, mate. I want to tell you, yesterday I had a total breakdown about my creative processes and why am I doing it? And I've been doing this shit for so long, and I feel like we touched on it today, like the sacrifices you make. I have lost people I have loved, I have lost friends, family, people that, you know, gone. And I wondered the same thing yesterday, which is strange that we're talking, you know, that you brought that up, because there are voices, and it's not madness.
No, it's not.
It's I would say it's the voices of, like, I would say it's like desire, man. Like you can't not do what you're meant to do, man. It's and it's shit that sometimes there's collateral, but it's not intentional. Like, it's just not, like, if you know, you never mean to hurt someone, man. You know what I mean? But if you've got to do something because this is what you need to do, then the only person you're hurting is yourself if you don't do it. That's me to the extreme. I'm very extreme when it comes to this stuff, but I'm full of self-doubt. So don't think that, you know, you're the only one out there, man.
And I know that for a fact. I know
I've been low, brother, too. So it's like, you know, but keep plugging, man.
That's why I'm very sympathetic with a lot of my peers and a lot of people that I've connected with, especially in the comics industry, man. There's the common denominator we have is just a lot of periods of self-doubt. So that's where, people like myself, I don't do it as much of late, but every now and then since pandemic, I always check in on people, just to say g'day, just making sure you're okay. You know, just that little nudge of, that little ray of sunshine to tell people, hey, look, I feel you. You're not alone. I'm just making sure you're okay. here's a little ray of sunshine for you, you know. And sometimes that goes a long way. So, and for a lot of people, we've forgotten that art of just, you know, basic communication, and just not every message has to have some business meaning behind it. You know, you know, I could drop you a line next week and just say, hey man, you know, we could talk about Faith No More, or talk about fucking Parliament, you know, like that's how I roll, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting, interesting parallel, the comics industry with the music industry. Yeah, it's very interesting. So yeah, but it's a journey that I'm enjoying. So yeah.
Yeah, no, mate, I can see you're enjoying it. And you're doing Freakenstein 5 now, which means it's pushing on. It gave you, like, you've just summed up tonight as well how important creativity in whatever format is, but in this particular moment, like your writing was for you, because you've mentioned your diary that you kept while you were touring, which obviously would have been a bit of a linchpin for your sanity during that point, while all that stuff was going on. I'm assuming through reading between the lines here that was probably the point where you went, man, I'm thinking this drinking, etc., is getting too excessive. I'm keeping, you know, that at least would have been the thoughts were, you know, in there, because it always starts with a thought, man, and the thought gets bigger and bigger until something happens where you go, fuck that, that's it, you know. It happened to me like that. That story is yours, because I think that is one of those things when you find sobriety, that moment where you stop, you save that story for yourself and those you love, man, that are close.
Absolutely.
I think that's one of those stories that you only share with people that are something, you know, like not the world. And you know, I'm just saying that's how I feel about my moment. And you know, you had that diary to get you through. You've hit pandemic. You've, like, you know, you're going through battles and stuff. I'm going to assume that you started being sober through the pandemic. That was possibly part of the battle as well.
I was sober a little bit before that, a couple of years before that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but for sure. Like there were moments of, you know, wanting to revisit an old friend, you know.
Yeah.
You know, for me, everyone's got their sobriety story, but for me, it was literally cold turkey. And it wasn't anything bad. It was just a moment of clarity where I just realized it was a part of my life that I didn't need anymore. It served its purpose. And I just knew that I could function just fine without it. So I made that choice and I've stuck to it ever since. So,
yeah, good man. Good man. I'm proud of you, mate.
Thanks, man. Back at you.
Thank you, man. It's best decision I've ever made. It's the most important thing I hold on to, man, is my sobriety. Will not. It's come close. Don't you worry. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you have those moments where you're like, you do. You just, but that's man, I will hold myself accountable for my sobriety for the rest of my life, man.
Absolutely.
It's just that important to me. And the thing that amazes me is when you first start going through, like, and you first start finding yourself begin a sober life, and it is scary because, you know, like so much, you know, alcohol and, you know, everything it's out there and people talk about it and that, but when you make that for whatever purpose, it is quite scary. And then you realize, like, how good life is, you know, like, and to have these feelings, like, even though some of them are difficult to deal with, you know what I mean? It's like, what is this? I haven't felt that for 20 years, you know? So it, like, you know, I'm still working and processing through all that, man, but I like to feel, that's where I'm at with it. That's where I'm at. But man, and Jesse, mate, I'm like really inspired by you tonight, bud. And Don
Oh, thanks,
Ticky
man.
sent in a comment down there that said more power to you for what you said
Thanks,
about your
man.
creativity and your comic books and stuff like that.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Now your kids' book. Let's talk about that. That's our last leg to talk about, man. And
Yeah.
how did that come about? Because you've gone from, like the Fury, you've gone from Frankenstein, which was your cathartic novel turned into a comic book. You're into the
Yeah.
Furies, which were your favorite characters from the Warriors that you wanted to obviously like broaden their story in your
Yeah.
own way up a bit, man.
Yeah.
And then you've decided, I'm going to do a children's book. And how did that
Yeah.
all form?
Well, I mean, the thing is, for this whole creative journey for me, it's just all about challenging myself constantly, never being
Mm.
complacent. Um, like I don't know. I guess everyone's creativity is different, but for me, I just had so many ideas. And during pandemic, I basically created a series of ideas that I'm slowly working through. I've got so many ideas, projects that I've started, of different novels, comic book ideas, and the children's book idea came about as just a challenge. I just thought to myself, I love seeing that smile on people's faces, and I wanted to extend that to kids. And I love bats, and I I wanted to write a story that I knew. I did a little bit of research before. I knew that there was quite a few books about bats out there, a lot of educational books and all the rest. But I just wanted something cute and empowering for kids to realize, just a way to conquer a potential fear.
Mm.
So for me, I found my artist, Nikki, um, who was a very, today she's a rising star in the tattoo industry. But at the time, she was a very insecure, very shy, very self doubt, um, talented artist that didn't believe in her work. Told me that she threw away a lot of what she drew. And I just kept at her and said, I believe in you. And I just see your art bringing my words to life. And through a series of conversations, we put together the basis of what would become Fly Bat Fly. I basically came to her and said, look, I want to create a rhyme that's like a song that kids and parents can read together. And I said, with your art, I want you to channel, because we talked a lot about the love of our families. So family is
Mm.
very powerful in this story. And
Mm.
I said to her, I want you to channel the love you have for your husband and your daughter and bring that into your artwork. So I said, visualize them as much as you can through these bats. So she celebrates um, her the love of her family, and namely her daughter, in this story, which is seen in many of the pages. So for me, it was a massive box to tick, to realize that I could. And the 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 thing that the payoff for me was not the selling the books. I mean, that's always a bonus, but it was just hearing the stories come back from parents and kids saying how much they love the book. Parents sending me photos of their kids asleep with the book in their arms. That sort of thing. That's powerful stuff, dude. And just the joy that I brought to these kids and families just means the world to me. So, which is probably weird for a lot of people to hear coming from me, but man, it's the truth. And I definitely plan to write more kids books for sure, because I honestly had so much fun writing that kids book. And I wrote another kids book that I put out last year, a short novella called Vixen, which is just a real feel good, slightly older kids audience, like semi-teenager audience, a Christmas story. So I
Mm.
just wrote like a ET kind of story. It's it's very akin to like an ET kind of story, you know, like a girl in a small town of Alaska befriends the rarest breed of reindeer on the planet, the black reindeer, and they just form this magical bond. And it's just one of them stories. It's got its highs and its lows, but it's got the most powerful, magical ending that you don't see coming. So, you know, so that's what I love about creativity, man. It's just being able to transport people through imagination, but also emotional. You know, it's very powerful and a lot of fun.
Man, you're firing off just cannonballs here tonight, man. God, I hope like people are taking this in, because to me, that is exactly what it is about, mate. Is to me, what you are describing there, and in my fucking soul, I tell you this truth. What you are describing there and how you are speaking, how you are like emotional and fuck, man, I can feel it. That is success to me.
Thanks, man.
People can measure success any way they want, but that is how I measure success, man. Is how you feel there, how you can impact lives of people through your creativity. Because, man, sometimes I don't think, you know, you can change the world in one day.
No.
But you can change one person, man, with one thing.
That's it.
And if that person like gets a buzz and they, you know, like, and things move from that. And I you know, that to me, that's success, Jesse.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
No, that's cool, man.
That's I mean, that's the thing. That's another thing I want to highlight about the conventions is it is a platform for people to make money. And as I mentioned earlier, there are unfortunately groups of people that do this event that it's basically, that's all the basis of their involvement in the conventions is to make money. But for me, when I'm at my table and I have a family, which I do, I have personal relationships with families today that come to my table just to remind me how much they love my kids' book. I've had school teachers come to me specifically to tell me the impact that my story has made on their kids. You know, so my book has reached a lot of young kids with a positive message, and to me, it's exactly what you just said there, Lee. That to me is success. You know, that is like, even if I only made $100 for the day, like, to know that my story puts smiles on, you know, so many kids' faces, that's like, yeah, that's powerful. And yeah, if I'm wrong, then whatever.
You're not wrong, man. You're not wrong at all. I 100% agree with you, man. I think that is the ultimate power of creativity, man, is to be able to translate your ideas to someone that, you know, it can inspire them and inspire the next generation to, you know, ignite something within themselves. And they look to Jesse Dracman. That book was like this thing, you know, when I read it, it just stuck in my mind forever, man. And that made,
that's what you want to see. Yeah, that's what you want to see. You want to see the kids that not just the kids that love the kids book, but you see the kids that come up and go, oh, when's the next issue of Frankenstein coming out? Or when's the next issue of Furious? You know, like getting that positive validation from fans of the Warriors, because I knew what I was walking into when I wrote that story. I knew I was walking into dangerous waters. Because I'm one of those fans too, dude. You know, like it's like, how dare you mess with perfection? It's like and sorry to go off topic here, but my whole thing about doing that was, I want everything I've created has been some form of love letter to my childhood. And the Warriors is a big part of that. And to me, I wanted to write a thank you to that film and to that story and to one of my favorite characters, which was the Baseball Furies. And I had this idea for the story for the longest time. So to be able to bring it to life in the 3 novels that I wrote, that I'm going to repackage as one book, hopefully this year. But also have the comic book series. It's really cool that there's a small audience building that is following that journey and are open to the ideas of what I'm trying to create, which is this legacy story outside of, outside of the world that Walter Hill and Sol Urich created. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think you just do whatever you want to do. I think you're in a damn good headspace. You're busy. I think you're in the right headspace for a creator, man. If you want to do those things, you just do whatever makes you happy, mate. Like that's really what it is too. Because while you're creating and you're getting that reciprocation from other people, and if you're getting families come to you at your tables to say like thank you for the book, I mean you're essentially bringing families together. So it's a construction of love all around, man, and that's what things should be fundamentally based on. I think.
Well, yeah, that's right. It's
people use sometimes because I rattle on about love a lot, and I'm quite sure that people probably go, oh, here's Ali going on about love again. But like love to a certain extent in social media has been poisoned because unfortunately love is now a throwaway thing. It's just a word to be used, like I'm sorry, or I didn't, or a phrase like I didn't mean that. You know what I mean? It needs to have more emphasis on it. And love is an integral thing. If there was more love in the world, people would be happy. There'd be more peace. And I don't know why people don't build off that. Love comes from building it in yourself, and then you can give it. It's pouring out of you. You can give it to other people, and it all radiates, man. It all comes around. It's all energy. And when you get feedback, Jesse, like you're getting from families and seeing that, you're from the conversation we've had tonight have built things on a foundation of love, remembering back to a period of when you're a child and like your homages to them. It's gotten you through some dark shit, man. You know what I mean? And it's brought you into some good times, and it's the ebb and flow of everything. And I'm sitting here listening to this story with you, man, because it's like there's so much of it that I'm going, yeah, I get that, yeah, man, and I think that's all. I think that's all anyone can ask. I like the fact that with Chinwags, I know for a fact myself, Jesse, and one thing I like about tonight, what I do like, I appreciate the creators that have been on and the guests in throughout the Chinwags. Is honesty about the fact that people from the outside think it's all, they just bang out these comic books on weekends. It's not that hard. You know what I mean? Like, or they just bang out oh, mate, don't we all? But like you said, the sacrifices, mate, the time, the effort, the years, the self-doubts, the imposter syndrome, like the script,
just goes on, man.
Oh, mate, it never stops. But the persistence of creatives to set their mark, hit their goal, and go through whatever glass they've got to go through to get there, man. Respect to every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Respect to you, Jesse.
Thank you.
Man, I certainly, I wish you every success on your journey, dude.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Back at you.
Yeah, thank you, man. I might, I'll talk to you after the show because I'm down that way at the end of the year. I might have to catch up with you for a coffee.
Yeah, man, let's do it. Let's do it. That'd be great.
Say good day. All right, Jesse, my man. Now, I always like to give you, the guest, the final say as we wind down our Chinwag. And if little Jesse walked up to Jesse, the adult standing, at Supernova, and wanted one piece of advice, why, or any of those things, like what would little Jesse ask Big Jesse, and what would Big Jesse say back to little Jesse?
Oh, that's a really good question. I guess little Jesse would probably ask, how can I do it, whether it's music or comics, and Big Jesse would probably reply, just taking a page from Todd McFarlane, who gave me this advice: create, and don't just create every now and then, create every single day, and write even when you don't think you're very good. Just keep writing and enjoy the ride, just have fun. I think those are two powerful words that I've said to people for the longest time, is have fun. No matter what you do, have fun. Because, a lot of people have forgotten the art of having fun. It's, a lot of what we've talked about tonight has revolved around enjoying and loving what you do. And another piece of advice that I got given was from my tour manager. He always said, every day is a school day, so if you go through life thinking you know everything, you should rethink your life choices. So, yeah.
Very good words of advice, mate. Very good words of advice. So, Jesse, last thing, mate. Now, if anyone wants to reach out to you and buy some of these books, comic books, now, where can they get you, mate? Like, what's your socials? Where you at? Like, give a shout out to yourself.
You can find me at freakproductions.com. I spelt freak with 2 E's instead of EAK, because freak, when I looked it up originally, it means too weird to be a freak, and I just resonated with that. I was like, yep, that's me. So yeah, go to my website. It's got links to the socials, to the podcasts that I do, everything, and I'm pretty easy to get a hold of.
Yeah, beautiful. No, that's great. Yeah. I do hope everyone goes out and checks out freakproductions.com, and that's FREEK, as Jesse said. So go out there and support Jesse, because I think, as you can see this evening, Jesse's got a good spirit. He's a good creator with the best intentions, and I think that's someone that should be supported. So that's my view. Nick May, nice work tonight. Great chat. Thank you for always supporting the show. Thanks, Nick May, and everyone else that's out there. So, as I wind down tonight's Chinwag, again, for everyone that is out there watching and will watch past, present, and future, 2D, 3D, or 5D, or whatever parallel reality you're in. Jesse touched on it tonight. I will touch on it again. ComX has a special place of interest and concern for the mental health of people. We all suffer mental health battles, majority anyway, amongst the community. I do. I know Shane does. And Jesse's touched on a few dark moments this evening. Sometimes they can get on top of you. Don't forget that there are people out there that do love you, and you are not a burden on them. Don't forget, people, that you have other people out there. If you have not heard from them, touch base with them. Let them know you care. Sometimes that's all it takes to just save someone's life. So that's important. It's all part of the community. It's very important just to be there when someone needs you. Do it with a full heart. Do it with love. Don't do it with force. Just do it with sympathy and love. All right, Jesse Dracman, thank you very much for tonight's show. It's been an absolute pleasure, man. I'm going to keep in touch with you, because I'm most interested to see where you go, buddy. And
that sounds good.
Yeah, tonight's been excellent. Do hang around for after the show, and we'll just have a little touch base at the end and finish up. Everyone out there, now next week, believe it or not, is a special episode. Next week is the 50th episode of Chinwag. So
wow.
Yeah, a bit of a spin out that. we decided that next week was going to be the 50th because there's episodes, there's been specials, there's been this, there's been that, and I think possibly not next week, the week after might have actually been the 50th, but there's a guest that I wanted to put on that date, so I just had this next week free. So like let's do a Reverie Comics and just swap numbers, like a big karate wax off, and next week's it. So that's just how it is. I'm going to hold back on telling you what next week's show is all about. Should be pretty interesting. So we'll just keep you guessing because like a little bit of mystery never goes astray. Do look after yourselves, and look, Chinwag is and will always be made with love, and community is unity, and see you all next week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. Take care.
Adios.
This show is sponsored by the Comics Shop. Check out comics.cx for all things comics and find out what comics is all about. We hope you enjoyed the show.